We have one more trader to get to. Alan Knuckman is here.
Hello, Angie. Let the fun begin. Now, the election's coming up. It seems to be a very binary event. It's not something that traders like to see. We like to have probability, not just a 50-50 chance that the market could go one way or 50-50 chance it could go no way and not follow any of the rules.
You mentioned Google on our show ahead of earnings, and that turned out to be a winner. What can you tell us?
All right, let's talk about last week's power of options positioning, which was a textbook trade that we talked about in Google. I was trying to illustrate something using a high probability positioning, and it ended up working out very, very well. Google popped. Had been trading between 150 and 170, popped out. Now the goal is 190. It did get up to 180. So the options we were looking at, which were trading at 19, they've gained about 50%, and they're trading about 30 right now. And now they'll have the value of 150 minus wherever the stock is trading. They'll have that intrinsic value because the time value is essentially gone with an option that deep, deep, deep in the money.
One of your tricks is to not trade sometimes.
All right, no new trade for today. A lot happening next week. And oftentimes I tell people to keep your hands down when in doubt. And that means no trades. If you miss a trade, you miss a trade. It's better to be out of the market waiting to get in than to be in the market trying to get out.
What are your Halloween trading day takeaways?
All right, let's talk about Halloween takeaways, the tricks and the treats. All right, first trick so far that we've seen this year is the Fed. The Fed waited and waited and waited to cut rates when it looked like it should have started sooner, but the markets are reacting very positively. The reason they had to wait was because the economy was so strong and is so strong. Number two, cocoa doubled. Now that's a chocolate shock that no one wanted to see, so that's a trick for our trick-or-treaters right now. And number three is crude oil. Crude oil for the bulls, disappointed, and disappointed again. But the good news is that year to date is essentially unchanged for those that have to look at their receipts from the gas pump. All right, let's talk treats right now. Lots of treats for those bullish, and the optimism wins. Number one, Bitcoin's up about 100% in the last year trade. Gold's up 30%, and silver is up 35%. Number two, rates are down. The 10-year note yield peaked at 5% and was recently around 4%. So long-term rates, which are not governed by the Fed, which are determined by supply and demand, are declining, and that will benefit everybody, interest rates and mortgages. And number three is the stock surge that I constantly talk about. The NASDAQ, whether you look at it as the QQQs, the NASDAQ, or the NDX, which is just the top 100, is still up more than 20% year to date. So we've seen a tech comeback, a complete comeback, and also the S&P. The S&P is up 20% again in 2024 after gaining 25% in 2023. So I've always been told not to try and pick the trend end. And lastly, boom.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.